Well, thank you all for being on time. My name's Tim Mazur. If we haven't met, and I don't see any familiar names, um, so as you just heard, I'm an Uber judge, been part of the competition for about 20 of its 24 years. I'm an actual ethics officer, so to the extent if any of you have enjoyed this competition and develop a passion for this, I've had a 34-year career doing it every weekday because I was sitting like you at your age in something like this. And I said, I'd like to do this for a living. And I've been doing it every day since, well, since I graduated. So uh, great. So let's jump in. And I have some information to share with you. But if anybody has any questions, we can do that. So as you all know, this is the final part of the competition, which is the 90-second presentation. And here are the instructions I'll give. Imagine that you are an employee of the company whose case you've been studying. You're at a meeting in which people are discussing the issue that is at the heart of your case. However, no one has brought up ethics. There's a pause in the conversation. You have 90 seconds in which to convince the other people at the meeting that there are ethical issues that need to be addressed. You don't have to argue for a solution. You just need them to see that there are serious ethical issues here. And obviously, only one member of the team will do this. So obviously, timing is really important. We're going to pay attention to if you succeed in accomplishing your task within 90 seconds. So at the moment in time when I say go is when I'll be pressing the button. So pretty much jump into it as quickly as you can after I say the word go. Let me just stop for a second because okay. And then the way it's going to work is this. This session is set up, Megan, for what, an hour, right? I'm on the East Coast of the United States, and so that's 12:15 to 1:15. Obviously, we don't need an hour for each of you to do only 90 seconds. And so the premise will be that we will do it. And if it's okay with you, the order that has been shared with me and, Megan, in the way that your invite went out was Middle Eastern, and then Asper, and then Catholic University, and then Mount Holyoke. So if everyone is okay with that order that we're going to go in, and what I'll do is I'll tell the person go. We'll listen to the 90 seconds. As the judge, I'll be taking notes, and I might need. So there will be a point in time where either the student stops, or if it gets to be 90 seconds, you know what? I guess I'm not going to say anything at 90 seconds. It's sort of your job to do that. If you go past 100 or 110 seconds or so, I guess I'll stop you. But I don't want to interrupt you just in case you're getting the last two words in and it's 91 or 92 seconds. I don't want to interrupt you. So I will not jump in at 90. So I'll just say go. And then when you're done, just be patient if I'm finishing taking notes for just 30, 40 seconds or so. And then I'll say, okay, great. So let's get ready for the next student and this and that. I invite you to stay if you have time. Not only is it beneficial for you to watch how the other students do what they're doing, but then when it's over, when all four persons are done and I have finished with those notes, then I'm going to offer feedback. And, obviously, won't do it in a way that intends to be insulting to anybody. So I'll obviously offer positive feedback where possible. I will offer constructive feedback, given the fact that maybe more than any judge that I can think of, I have actually been the person in the room who has done this 90-second thing for real at some very big, powerful companies in the world. I've done this in 30 countries around the world with Fortune 500, and I'm a business ethicist. I'm a corporate ethics officer. This is what I do. So so I might have some very specific opinions about who does great and who can improve. And so I invite you all, to stay for that. Part of me wants to invite your feedback, but it's a little tough to think, you'll probably only share positive feedback about your colleagues because it's tough for you to say negative feedback, and I wouldn't want anyone to accidentally be disrespectful or make someone not feel great in front of others. So anyway, any questions from anybody? Yeah, Lauren, you're on mute.
Yeah, will we be able to, I guess, briefly set the scene for what this meeting is, or would you prefer that we just go right into the pitch?
Yeah, I prefer you go right into it. Great question, and thank you for asking. Stick with the storyline where you're kind of all forced into the same storyline I just read, which is there is a meeting at the company. Well, let's see. So we have Asper here, right? Who's from Asper? Is it Lauren? All right. So are you with Asper? Are you Google?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So just in the example that Lauren will be in, so it is a meeting at Google with executives, and the topic at the heart of your case is being discussed by these 16 people in the room, and you're one of the persons there. You're disappointed that the conversation is only an hour. It's already been 30 minutes, and no one has brought up any ethics content. There's a pause, you speak up, and you have 90 seconds to make your point. So everyone presumed that this exact situation, but of course, for Lauren, it's Google. For the other three of you, it's a different company or a situation. So, but thank you for asking, Lauren, because yeah, you're basically, we're expecting all 90 seconds to be nothing other than you looking into the eyes of the CEO or something, trying to make a point. So cool. All right, any other questions? Okay, so do me a favor, just for the heck of it, help me understand which of the four of you represents METU?
Me.
Okay,
I'm from
Nupari?
METU.
Okay, great. Okay, and then we already know Asper is Lauren. Okay, and then Catholic U is Philip. Okay, and that would mean that we've got, is it Alika? Is that the proper pronunciation?
Yes, it's Ilika.
Ilika, perfect. Okay, thank you. Okay, represents Mount Holyoke, right? Okay, good. Perfect. Okay, any other questions? Okay, forgive me for delaying the start this long, but how often do we get to be in a position to mess with your heads like this? So, it's fun. Okay, perfect. All right, well, great. So we're going to go with METU first. And like I said, I have got a smartphone here that's going to represent my timer. So let me get it set up. We're not starting yet, but just I want to check. Nupari, are you ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So everybody, our first one, and here we go.
Dear Mr. President, board members, let me draw your attention on some of the important ethical issues surrounding our autonomous cars here at Waymo. One of the most important ethical concerns we should be looking at is the problem of moral uncertainty, where our AI algorithm would have to make a choice on whether it should drive out of the cliff or crash into the school bus, which has 28 children inside. Here, compared with the conventional SUV driver, whose choice will be considered as a reaction, whatever our AI algorithm will be programmed to do will be considered as a decision that was predetermined way before the accident took place. So the question is, how is this decision-making process going to be evaluated, and on the basis of what? Another important thing that we should consider here is the right to life. How can we ensure that the right to life is going to be protected in case of a hacking accident, where the control of the whole AI system is in the hands of a complete stranger or terroristic organization? How can we ensure the safety and security of the personal data that is being gathered by our AI algorithm? Who will get the access and control to that data? This might be just some of the questions we need to answer as a company developing those autonomous cars. We are entering a new stage of technological transformation, and I believe that here, by implementing ethics in design, which means by incorporating ethics throughout all stages of developing and implementing AI systems, I truly believe that we will be able to address these ethical issues with a sense of responsibility, safety, and sustainability. Thank you.
Okay, perfect timing. Safety and sustainability. Okay, awesome. All right. So second on our list, we have Lauren from Asper. So I'm not starting yet. I'm just asking Lauren, how you doing? You're ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me just check something here. Okay, great. All right. So I'm going to be ready to press the button and then you'll be ready to go. Let me just write some things down here. So, Lauren, we are ready to go now.
So look, I know that people are upset about what's been happening on the ethical AI team, but are any of us really surprised? Because this isn't a new issue. This organization says that it's best for employees to do one thing really, really well, and that great just isn't good enough. But it's also better to go faster than slow. And while you're at it, you should be able to make money without doing evil. There's no way anyone can accomplish all of these things at the same time. First, Timnit was fired, then Margaret was fired, and I'm thinking that I could be next because my deadline for the new machine learning model was moved up to next week. And I'm thinking there's a way bigger bias issue than I originally thought. I went to my manager, but all they care about is that it gets done on time. And I brought it up to my team, but they're all too scared to speak out. And there's nowhere else that I can go in this organization with my concerns. And if I hold this project back, it's all going to fall on me. I joined Google to be creative and innovative and to make a difference. And I thought I was an ethical person, but now I'm actually considering taking shortcuts and letting dangerous technology go out to market. I don't know if I should leave this organization or do something and wait to be fired, but this isn't just something that I can let go. How is it possible that this organization who prides itself in freedom is stifling the legitimate concerns of its employees? As if this place is making me compromise on my values to send this technology out to market. Next thing we know, it's out there and it's doing way more harm than good. Google shapes our world every day, and I think that it's time to start acting like it.
All right. Let me just similarly get the last stuff down here. Thank you so much. Okay. Only the four of you knew how realistic these 90-second things are, because you can imagine it is literally sometimes all I get when I'm in situations like this. Okay, perfect. All right, so our our next Catholic University of America, so we've got Philip. We're not starting yet, Philip. Are you good? All is well?
Yeah.
Okay, I can hear you. Things are great. Okay. Perfect. So, and I guess, you know, Megan, it shows 21 participants. So I guess that means that other people can dial in and listen.
Yes, so we have attendees that will be
Got
able
it.
to
Got it.
be watching, but we're just going to see the panelists.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you. That it's great. I've done the 90-second a lot of times face to face. It's the first time doing it virtually. Okay, so we've got Philip. And so yeah, helpful to be reminded, because I will have a brief insights. It can only be brief at the very end because it's only 90 seconds and this and that, but it's helpful to know that we have an audience of 20 instead of just 6. Okay. All right, so Philip, you are ready to start now.
Yesterday, I presented factual evidence that a national opioid crisis is brewing in rural marginal communities and can be traced back to Purdue Pharma intentional marketing of OxyContin. Although Purdue Pharma cannot control the abusive behavior of individual patients, there's an ethical issue in how abusers got their hands on OxyContin and how OxyContin was advertised to physicians. OxyContin was and is still an effective product, but was marketed by Purdue Pharma as abuse-free, despite witnessing the failure of their product during these prevention testing. My colleagues discussed the positive financial and political consequences of reformulation, but the bottom line is that Purdue Pharma needs to act. It's wholly unethical that $1.9 billion can be netted while 25,000 deaths are brushed aside in a single year. It's wholly unethical that patients who are actually in real pain can no longer obtain OxyContin from physicians for fear that their abuse will occur. I work for Purdue Pharma because I believe that the company stands on values that reflect the common good. Values are intended to promote the good for everybody. But how can a value be good for everybody when innocent physicians are being arrested and patients in pain are staying in pain? Purdue Pharma, one way or another, must act immediately. This is a company fully cognizant of the opioid crisis. At the end of the day, all patients deserve safety. All physicians deserve honesty, not just some.
All right. Very good. I'm just getting these last words down here. Okay, excellent. Okay, good. All right, so let me do that and reset. Okay, so Ilika is there. We can hear and all is good. So just checking in, Ilika, you're doing well and you'll be ready to go in a few seconds?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay, great. Perfect. So we're going to start the clock right now.
As an employee at Wells Fargo during the 2016 scandal, I remember being coached when I couldn't meet targets. I remember not receiving sales bonuses and being singled out. I heard of people that reported to the ethics line and then never heard of them again. And I remember that one day, fed up, I did the same thing that many of us hate to acknowledge that we did. I coerced customers to buy unnecessary products and reached an unethical cliff point from which we as a firm are still trying to return. Many colleagues made the same choice as I did. In 2016, 1% of our entire workforce was fired for opening fraudulent accounts. But there was no right answer. Colleagues who chose to not bend to the pressure aren't here today because they were eventually demoted or fired for not being team players. I regret the decision I made and the harm I caused to people who trusted me with their money. However, we should keep in mind that this ethical dilemma was also a failure of leadership on multiple levels. Upper management clearly prioritized achieving arbitrary sales goals to the extent that your success in the firm depended on how well you could gain customers. And to ensure that this ethical failure never happens again, we need to implement protocols so that we, the employees of Wells Fargo, do not ever face a crisis of confidence in our workplace again. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all right, nice job, everybody. Let me just turn that off, Okay. Wow. Okay, so I hope you feel good about what you did, and that it was a good use of time for you to listen to your colleagues. You know, as I mentioned, you know, we've got 19 attendees, but we also are scheduled, you know, to go for another 40 minutes. And so, as I mentioned, I'd like to just share some feedback as an Uber judge for what it's worth. I don't know if you have a response or have a question, you know, that's helpful and constructive in the spirit of what we're doing. Like I said, you know, we've got time right now, and let's see, just 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Okay, good. And then, yeah, so feel free to, you know, ask me questions if you want, and but I guess just, you know, focus on your own situation. So I guess just in order of the folks that presented. So Nupari, yeah, I think the presentation went really well. You know, it's important in the 90 seconds to make it clear to the people that you're speaking to that you're raising, you know, ethical issues. And so the way that you literally said, you know, I think the word ethical issue and referred to moral uncertainty in the first 5 seconds was really helpful, because if you can imagine those 16 people being in the room, you know, they're probably thinking you're just going to weigh in on what the previous person said or whatever. So you set yourself apart with what about you're to say. And believe it or not, those words are uncomfortable to hear in a business boardroom like this. People sometimes can't help but feel attacked when you say the word ethical or unethical or moral. It really gets people's attention. It's risky, but of course you're all here because it's necessary. So literally saying those things is good. Making reference to the school bus and the SUV, excellent, because again, you're doing a little bit of shock, but you need to get the attention of these people who apparently have been talking about these things but not caring about any of the ethical parts of it. Yeah, connecting it to the evaluation of the decision making is fantastic, because I know I didn't get to hear any of your 4 cases except for I got to hear the 10-minute case for Google, but so I'm pretty much hearing all of you with sort of a blank slate, and realizing that you focused on the decision making is very good, because the people in the room are saying, why is Nupari wasting our time? If she's just communicating personal feelings, it's not the best use of time, and things like that. So you quickly, by making the focus on, with regard to the AI algorithm, how we evaluate the decision making, gets them in the mindset of saying that it is really true that things could be done better. One of the biggest challenges is people toss around the word ethics or ethical or unethical or moral or immoral. And what does that mean? You know, it would be much easier if you all just went to law school, because the law is easy. Something's legal, it's illegal, and a bunch of overpaid lawyers can argue about it, but whatever, it's written down. But the reality of what we do in business ethics is people can try to disagree with you. So something positive that you did, Nupari, is you made reference to the right to life, because whenever you guys are talking about ethics, you have to give the listener some context of how you are distinguishing ethical versus unethical. So one of the classic ways are to talk about the fact that people have rights. And so if you're making a point that, you know, people have a right to life, then, and if we are violating that, that is what I mean by unethical. So that worked out really well. The fact that in a short time you were able to bring up so much, you know, the reference to the hacking and the possibility of terrorism. I liked Fast and Furious. Was it 8 or 7? I'm not sure, but it had the blonde woman, anyway, where she got control of all the cars and they came out of the parking garage. I don't know. I thought it was a good movie. Okay, so you brought up safety, data access. So good stuff. You took a moment, you mentioned new technology design and you defined that for them, the people in that room don't need the phrase new technology design defined for them. So in that sense, I'm grateful to Lauren for reminding us, okay, really put yourself in the mind of these people. I like really pretend that you're in this room. And so I know why you did it. And there's many reasons in the 10-minute and then the 25-minute for you to define things or so, but in the 90-second, not necessary, because it might be necessary with ethics things if the other 15 people in the room don't understand ethics. But I think with new technology design, given the room that you're in, didn't need a definition. So you had time to give it an effective closing with the focus on responsibility and safety and sustainability. So you came in, according to me, really was right at 89 seconds. You definitely made it by the 90, and but you didn't waste any seconds. So a really good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any reactions or thoughts in response?
Actually, I believe that I was kind of a little bit too excited. And at the very end, I was supposed to make a point on ethics by design. So I'm really sorry for confusing you on that one and thinking it's related to the technology.
Okay.
But I'm really glad. I'm really open for your feedback. And I really, really appreciate it. It honestly means a lot to get the real feedback from you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah, no, I can imagine, what a terrible thing that we're doing to you, that it's sort of funny because it brings up what one of you said, and maybe it was Asper, about the trade-off between speed and effectiveness or quality or ethics. And so here it is, Tom White is forcing you to deliver something in 90 seconds, and you're sort of graded on how much you deliver. But at the same time, yeah, if you sometimes if you do it too fast or something like that, so it has to be just right. But I thought it came across well. Okay, so Lauren, a really good start. For the same reason I liked Nupari starting off with those words, because the room just needs to know where she's going and why she's saying something. You really caught the listener's attention, surprised. Are we really surprised? I mean, that realistically, that really will get people's attention, and just the right attention. You're not insulting them. It was a great way to go. Making reference to the Google's point about no evil is always fantastic. So I don't know how many of you in your 25-minute or your 10-minute, but in the spirit of me making the point that in the business world, there are a bunch of people who think that there is no such thing as ethics in business, or they disagree as to what's ethical or what's not. If you can use the values of the organization that you're talking to, by definition, when they created those values, they have established the fact that there are some things that are ethical and some that are unethical based on whether or not they're inspired by those values or not. So using the company's own values is a wonderful way to get over that largest hurdle of even having an argument about, well, business is only supposed to be about profits. It's not supposed to be, we only care about ethics if it means it will lead to greater profits, which is a complete lie, but I won't go into that. So, Lauren, great start on that. A great early reference to Google's values. The point about being fired and the bias issue, again, really getting to the heart of these things. The concept that you were following the rules, you were concerned and upset about the fact that you were being asked to violate the values of the company, so you went to your manager about it. Companies love that. I run, I'm an ethics officer right now, and I'm the one who does the investigations in response to those calls that come into our helpline. And, I want people to call the helpline because I want to help them, because sadly, in reality, I'm against people going to their manager, because there are some managers who A, suck at responding properly, and B, sometimes the manager is part of the problem, and so when you go to your manager, which is following the code of conduct, you go to your, your manager might have an attitude of, oh, this employee is uppity and they're questioning my judgment and they're accusing me of things, I don't like them. But if they come straight to the ethics office and we promise them confidentiality, or if they choose to be anonymous, then there's no harm and everything is great. So I'm super supportive of the reality behind your point that you shared in front of all the people in the room. I did what you asked me to do. I went to my manager, but my manager only cares about speed. I went to my team, but my team is too scared to do anything to help me. So that was really excellent way. And then you said, and then for me, I have to suffer through the fact that, I felt like you hired me because of my values, but now you're asking me to violate them. So connecting it to creativity and innovation is brilliant, given how Google is so proud of that. And you can't just have only the good parts of creativity and innovation, use it for profit-making engineering, but deny it when it comes to ethical issues. And obviously very impactful for you to make the case, I feel like I either have to leave or be fired. And that it's a risky thing to say. And I would think if in my career I've had 100 instances of these 90 seconds, when would I actually really say that? Now, it is totally legit that you did, because, it really is true. And it's an admirable thing for you to have values and that are that strong, that you don't want to be a part of something which is choosing to kill people. They do have the technology and the intellect to kill fewer people, but they're doing a trade-off, and they need to be aware of that trade-off. I was telling, in fact, I think your team yesterday maybe, that previously I was the ethics officer for Pratt & Whitney. We make jet engines, so if you've ever flown Delta or JetBlue, we make the jet engines for those planes, as well as for the military jets, the fastest military jets in the world. And at Pratt & Whitney, everything was about 0 people dying. If there was anything we could do, if it meant spending this much more money. So car companies saying, oh, if we only have, because I think Google, it was Tesla. Tesla has had 16 deaths in the past 3 years or whatever. And apparently their board is happy that it's that low. And, when you work at a company that makes jet engines, you're not happy at 16, you're only happy at 0. So, okay, let's see. Freedom but stifling, more harm than good, act like it. So really, really well done. I don't know if you know, Lauren, but you exceeded the 90 seconds. So you went to, I clocked you at 97 seconds. So I am happy I didn't interrupt and that I decided before we would begin, because I'm glad we got to hear what you had to say. And so just in the future, find a way to make sure that you, at least for the competition, not in the real life when you're sitting in Google's boardroom, but for the competition, have something that allows you to time it locally. So no matter what, you can come in at the 90. Yeah, forgive me if I'm talking too much, but oh, Lauren, any thoughts or reaction? You don't have to, but if you any thoughts?
Yeah, thank you so much for the feedback. Throughout our presentation, we were trying to sort of center the employee and the struggles that they have and that sort of ethical dilemma. And so we felt that this was kind of the opportunity to, I guess, really showcase that from the employee's point of view. So thank you so much.
Good. Yeah, it's great. And, you'd be pleasantly surprised the number of time it works. Sadly, whistleblowers are almost always very admirable people who should be called heroes, but they become pariahs and can be blackballed, and it's a really tough thing. It's better in 2021 when we're discussing. You can only imagine when I got started in 1988. It was horrible stories of people who had the courage to be whistleblowers and what happened. Okay, Philip. Philip, you have a place in my heart, Philip, for a couple of reasons. My wife graduated from Catholic University of America, but I'm not letting that go plus or minus. And I am on the ethics team at a company called Indivior right now, which is in the exact same market as Purdue Pharma. And in fact, as you know, Purdue Pharma paid a huge fine, the second largest fine ever paid in the space of opioid use disorder and opiate drugs is the company I'm working at. And that's why they hired me, was to make things better after the big mistake that, but in our instance, so last July 20th, we ultimately paid over $1 billion. We specifically paid 600 million, and my company has less than 1,000 employees, but we had to pay over $1 billion. So any of you who have taken finance classes, that's a lot of money. And interestingly, at my company, the only way the government agreed to it is if our CEO was fired and put in jail. And our CEO, our former CEO, is sitting in jail at this moment and will be there until May 10th. So for any of you, it's a shocking development. There's people like us who for decades have asked that people, leaders of the company, will suffer personal responsibility for their actions. And I obviously knew our CEO. He was a part of hiring me. He's a nice person, and he didn't personally commit the misconduct, but he took responsibility for the fact that he could have been a better leader to the company, so that that sales employee that did break the law wouldn't have thought that that was an acceptable thing to do. So anyway, Philip, so you know, it's interesting. Part of me likes that you started off making reference to yesterday, kind of going with the theme of things. And it brings me back to thanking Lauren for her asking, okay, what's the exact situation? But another part of me thinks, well, you know, the setup for the 90-second doesn't necessarily suggest that the people in the room heard yesterday or so. Anyway, just if we're lucky enough to see you in the future, I think the intent is for this to just be separate from yesterday. You know, the 25-minute and the 10-minute. You got a lot of information in there. Just like I said with Napari, the ethical issue, bringing that up right at the beginning to make it clear to the audience what you're talking about. I've found your delivery rushed. So again, it's what I just said to you 5 minutes ago, all of you, that you guys are, it's impossible trade-off. We're asking you to get in a lot of information. So, you know, if I had a recommendation, I would have taken 5% less information if you would have slowed down just a little bit, because I understand, I've seen movies with debate competitions where they really go so fast you can't understand the words. But in this instance, I could understand all four of you. And the reality is those business people in that room are so unaccustomed to hearing conversations about ethical issues. Again, I told this to you 15 minutes ago, and I'm going to say it again. You literally can't say that word without some people feeling insulted. You know, and I'll be candid with you. I've been doing this for 34 years. There are some people who went into business instead of medicine, instead of engineering, instead of law. They went into business because it was a space that cared only about profit. They wanted to work in a place where no one would ever question them other than how much money did you make for us today? And which is why business ethics and this competition is so important, because there are still so many people in business who need to be educated on what you all might take for granted. So very good that you made reference to the ethical issue, and talking about our advertising gets beyond just the general, oh, you know, it's better if fewer people die. You went specifically into the reality of the fact that the decisions made by the people in that room led to unnecessary deaths. And so that was very good. You took a risky move because you were really challenging the people in the room. I know there was a team yesterday, I think the team that did Tesla, and I told them, you know, you need to be a little kinder to the people in the room, because they're going to shut you off if you're saying you're a bad person and you should never have been born, then I'm going to say, well, I'm going to stop listening to you because you apparently have such lack of respect for me or whatever. So on the one hand, you did the right thing, Philip, because what Purdue Pharma did and its leadership did was so unbelievable that you almost had no choice but to be this direct. But for most of you, we mentioned it with the Tesla people yesterday by suggesting that go in them and congratulate them for what the success that's gotten to them where they're at, and that you're in the room because you can give them advice to make it possible for them to be even more successful by being more ethical or something like that. So it's a way to get them to open their ears to you and listen, because they feel respected. But again, Philip, in your situation, you probably did the right thing. Your specific reference to the 25,000 deaths, it's always excellent to get data points in, even if you only have 90 seconds. Clearly your passion, no one in the room would ignore what you're saying. Sometimes if you're not passionate enough, they might blow you off as they go to get a Pepsi or a lunch sandwich. But I think for all four of you, as I looked at Ilika too, all four of you had the right level of passion. If I would have felt that there wasn't enough passion or too much, I felt like you were reading something and it was overwhelmingly obvious that you were reading something, that would have been bad. But I didn't write that down for any of the four of you. Your specific reference, Philip, to the values is excellent, just like Lauren did. So with her no evil thing. And the reality that even though you only had 90 seconds, Philip, you made reference to arrested doctors. You need to understand, remember, I work for a pharmaceutical company like Purdue Pharma. Doctors are just, patients are the most important people in the world, but we don't interact with the patients. We only interact with the doctors. And so those doctors are the key to us being able to succeed as a business. And my company's it makes an opiate drug to help people get through their addiction and everything. And so we're doing it to make the world a better place. And those doctors are the key to that. So saying the word arrested doctors is just an extraordinary thing to hear. Your reference to safety for the patients, and then honesty to the HCPs, not just some. So a really good closing. You came in at 82 seconds, so you did the most important thing, which was don't exceed 90. And 82 is fantastic. And it's just, in a perfect world, you had 5 more seconds to say something, but, I can easily see giving you an A+, for, if you're less than 80, I wouldn't give an A+, but it worked out well. Any questions or thoughts or reactions, Philip?
Thank you. No, this has been a great experience of just kind of learning about Purdue Pharma and just how to present all this. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah, I actually, in the 90s, was brought in for 2 interviews. In the second interview, I was in the room with the general counsel to be their first ethics officer. The first interview lasted an hour and a half. The second interview lasted less than 5 minutes. The general counsel in the 1990s had no interest in someone whose background was being a business ethicist. They only wanted to hire attorneys. Enough said. Okay, so Ilika, Wells Fargo, another great example. You saw a little bit of it being well done by Lauren, and having the people in the room really see things from your vantage point and your eyes. And so a really smart way to approach this, because again, these other people are all talking about profits and market share and shareholder value and things like this. And so you're bringing up something which is not easy, it's not respected by some. And so by choosing to go the path that you did is really good, because it is legitimately emotional. And you always hope that even if some of the people in the room are these callous jerks who only care about profit, maybe one of them has a brother or a sister who has been treated badly by their employer, and maybe you touch a nerve in them that otherwise wouldn't be touched. So that approach that you took right from the beginning, the reference to how you were coached and everything is excellent. Giving up bonuses and this and that, the reality of those others who reported to the ethics line. Again, in the same spirit of, the 25,000 that we heard from Philip, 1% of workers fired in 2016. Wells Fargo is a very large company. So 1%, believe me, even though some people say, oh, you should have used, the number of people like Philip did. But believe me, everyone at Wells Fargo, when you say 1% of the workforce, they know how many tens of thousands of people that is. This concept of, no right answer, it gets folks thinking. In business ethics, we never want people to think that business ethics is so gray that it's really just opinion. So Philip's allowed to feel like, oh, it's okay for 25,000 people to have been killed, by OxyContin or whatever, and that it's just personal opinion, just like Philip's favorite color is blue and mine is red. Obviously, business ethics is absolutely not that. There really is an objective sense of what's right and what's wrong. And so, getting the people in Wells Fargo to confront, the reality of, there's no way of saying that what happened wasn't unethical. Just making the point of being a devoted employee, fired if you didn't do it and fired if you did, just an extraordinary thing to hear. But using that moment in that room with leadership in the room to specifically say the phrase a failure of leadership. So it's awkward. You might not get invited in that room again, but there's a distinct possibility that Wells Fargo would never have done the terrible things that they did and caused so much harm if someone like you had been in that room prior to, these bad things happening. Making the point about arbitrary, the reality that, success was required you to do unethical things, and having enough time to make reference at the end about beyond just what you had to say. There should be protocols. We have the power to make this not happen again. And so you came in at 88 seconds, which is fantastic. And so I think Nupari was probably 89 and you're 88. This is excellent because you're using every minute available to you. So any thoughts, Ilika? Any reactions?
No, I really appreciate your feedback, and I think that it was very helpful to hear all of your feedback about all the participants and kind of situate it in a real world context, because we are, after all, students. So it was helpful to hear what it really would have been like if we were an employee in that room.
Yeah, it's, the politics is amazing. And so it's hard. It's hard to think that any one of you could be this candid and honest. But the good thing is this: when I was your age, there were no ethics officers. They didn't exist yet. Today, there's over 200,000 people in the world who have this job. There were literally 3. When I was a senior in high school, there were 3 in the world that I'm aware of. For example, Cummins Engine had one in Indiana. But anyway, now 200,000 people in that field. And so the great news is if there's 16 people in that room, there probably is someone in that room who is a chief ethics officer or a chief compliance officer. At my company, she's called the Chief Integrity and Compliance Officer. And the good news is she would be able to say what the 4 of you have said because it's expected of her in her job description. But back when there were no job descriptions like this, there's the possibility that the CEO or other very senior executives would be so insulted by you calling them out in public during those 90 seconds like that, that you might not ever see the inside of that corporate headquarters ever again after 5 o'clock that day. It takes a little while for HR legally to do the firing and walk you out the door with security. So usually you might get till 5 o'clock. So, well, listen, I can't thank you enough. It's 5 minutes after the hour. We have until 1:15. So I will stop and invite anyone who has any questions that can be of benefit to the group. We here on the chat, we just had someone who's said thank you. But beyond that, any final things to share from anyone? You don't have to, but any final things before we close things out? Okay, we're all good. All right, so listen, thank you so much for all the hard work over the past couple of days. I hope you were able to join hear the presentation by Sandra Evers Manley on Wednesday. Through Tom, I've known her for 20 years, and I never, ever connected the fact that the Evers in her last name is because she's related to Medgar Evers, one of the most important members of the civil rights movement, who was assassinated by being shot in the back. But at some point in the conversation, Tom asked her, how did you get involved? And she said, well, we come from a civil rights background. And she said, my cousin was shot in the back. And I just couldn't believe it, that you could know someone for 20 years and not realize that that was her family member. But anyway, thank you for all of the dozens or 100 hours of work that you and your teammates put into this. I hope it was worthwhile. If it was, please tell people on your campus to come and join us again next year. We're scheduled to do it face-to-face here in my home state of Massachusetts. And if you don't graduate yet and you can join us, please do, because it's incredible having gone through this experience, hearing some of the feedback. So much better that you can do this your second time around based on what you learned the first time. If you have any advice or feedback for us about what we provide to you, if you feel like, gosh, we could have done better, but they didn't tell us, the 90-second thing was only going to be separate from the 25-minute and the 10-minute. So if you have any advice or feedback about things that we can do in the future to be better hosts of the competition, don't hesitate to let us know. But beyond that, Monday is the day that the winners are announced. And so it will be recorded. So if you can join us live, awesome. But if not, there will be an opportunity for you to see that and then all the follow-up. So listen, good luck. If any of you really like this, as someone who has had 34-year career in business ethics, please seriously consider the possibility of going into the world of ethics and compliance. There are a lot of opportunities, and there's internships, and I ran the professional association for all of the ethics and compliance officers. We had 1,400 members representing 600 organizations. And at Pratt & Whitney, we had over 100 employees who worked in the ethics and compliance department, because we were all part of United Technologies, which included Otis elevators, Carrier air conditioning, Pratt & Whitney, and also a fourth division. It's all now called Raytheon Technologies. But if you guys only knew that a company like that, we had over 100 employees. So it's not as easy if you just go get a job in marketing. There's fewer than the marketing jobs, but there are positions out there. And if there's a particular city that you want to live in and you want to know about opportunities there, don't hesitate to try and find me through LinkedIn or something like that, and I can put you in touch with ethics and compliance people in that metro area, including anywhere around the world. Well, listen, have a great rest of your day. Hope you can join us on Monday, and good luck going forward. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.